How do we restore the minds of the wayward women that went seeking after other knowledge and in the process allowed multiple men to deposit their DNA inside of them? So that's your typical Christian woman or your typical, a lot of these Hebrew Israelite women, you know? So, all right, there it is.
Thank you.
Yeah, well, that's a hard saying, and I'm not sure if we want to, if we really want to. That question is going to be difficult. The answer may offend some people. There has to be an assessment made, a sober assessment. Once we understand the will of the Most High, once we understand the will of the Most High, if you are a Hebrew, you are you are the apple of his eye. This Hebrew man, he calls you his eldest, and he calls you almost he drapes himself with you, if you will, like jewelry, you know what I mean? And so what he wants for him is to actually get authentic representation of himself on the earth. And so anything that would interfere with that, dilute it, water it down, make it something other than that, has to be discarded.
And so what that practically means is that there has to be the highest quality women for the highest quality men. And they're going to be numbers wise more women than men. And so there will have to be, as is prophesied, there will have to be restorative polygyny. You know, the word polygyny it would be anachronistic to use that word, but what is known as polygyny will have to be restored so that those highest quality men can be as fruitful as and multiply as much as possible. And then women who are in a less good condition, not that they are inherently less valuable or anything like that, but in a sober assessment of them, they should recognize that they have to be a helper like all other women, and they would have to help in whatever way they can help. And that does not necessarily mean that they're going to have their pick of men, because they just may not be in a condition to assist certain men. They may have to be in a condition where through deliverance and through a process, they are having their minds renewed and they are assisted in shedding some of the programming that they have accepted, and really the influence of all this different DNA that's been deposited in their central nervous system. But they are going to have to come in. Potentially they could come in as a servant and eventually be taken on as a concubine in a particular household. And they could be entrusted with a responsibility, a helping role that is not as central to the core needs of the husband, because of the fact that they potentially could be unreliable. Wow. Because they all these other things happen to them, and they're going to have to be sober enough and humble enough to accept that, and rather than to just because in order to have the reproach removed from them, they should be thankful enough and humble enough to accept that willingly and joyfully. And then remember, promotion comes from the Most High. So if they get in there and demonstrate that they can function on the level of a wife, perhaps that will be their end. But there should not be this presumptuous attitude to where all women are going to be married to the same rank amongst wives. And this whole idea of everybody being equal is a Christian thing. And the idea that you're going to go through some spooky process and you are going to equalize people when they have had different things deposited in them, is really more of a Greco-Roman concept. A tribal mind is really not going to treat all individuals of us at the same rank, because rank means responsibility. Rank means duty. Okay, and so everyone cannot function at the same rank. Does it mean people are loved less? No. Does it mean that they have value? No. Does it mean that they're mistreated? Absolutely not.
And I'm so glad that you made that distinction, because there, even me being in the military and working on teams and being on teams and playing basketball, and I know a lot of the NFL guys who watch me can say the same thing.
Yes.
You have a lot of spiritually undeveloped people who feel like, well, why can't I be quarterback? It's like, because you're 330 pounds and you can't move. You're a linebacker, you're a lineman. No, I want to be quarterback. That'd be like Shaq wanting to be a point guard. People got to understand having a nation, or like you said, a tribal mindset, as opposed to a Greco-Roman mindset. So that was heavy that you said that point. It doesn't mean being loved less. It just means being an honest assessment of what's really going on here. It's like, okay, you spent 20 years and you were a stripper, and like this woman was raised by her father and never, and is a virgin, they're like, go ahead.
Michael, is that word child molestation really first happens in its true definition by the mother molesting the actual DNA of this particular patriarch.
Because he plants his seed in her, and then she takes it and shocks it and warps it with all this other DNA that has been deposited in her during these prior attempts.
Right.
And so,
and as a result, this child has been molested, and this child now cannot function in the way that the Most High intended for the child to perform. And so as a result, and this is why I would say those who have had all that happened to them, coming directly to that question, they would have to be discarded as it relates to marrying. They could assist in other areas, but if we're trying to be true to getting the right person on the earth, the right people on the earth, they would have to be excluded from that.
And there should be a mindset to say, I would rather be a doorkeeper. I just want to be included in the household of a righteous man. And this cuts both ways. This cuts both ways, because some people, virginity and chastity should be lifted up as a standard. But if there are any young virgins listening, you hear me good. You still have to get in there and produce and perform and submit and assimilate and handle the purpose that you've been given. Because if you get in there physically and notably a virgin, and you slack off and you lay back and you are ungovernable, then you can take a seat and someone else can be promoted above you. True. Who did not have necessarily potentially the background to people can outperform the background. Promotion comes from the Most High. So we should be more concerned about performing our role and functioning, not about rank and title per se.
All right.